All right, so I'm going to show you a little bit about Canvas basics in order to give you an overview of some of the changes you'll have to make initially. I know a lot of you were unhappy with what you've created from the start, so if you're in course details, you can always use that right side navigation and click Reset Course Content in order to start fresh. I don't know if that's something any of you want to do, but under course details, you can change a lot of options, choose an image for your course, change the class name, whatever you need to do. This is also the area where you can put start and end dates for your class. There are terms and progress periods already embedded in it from the district, but you can change them if you want to have earlier or later dates, although grading is sort of impacted by the term dates set by Damon at the district office. All right, so if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see that there is an option for grading schemes. As a campus, Del Lago has a 4-point grading scale that we use. There is a DLA 4-point grading scheme that's already created in Canvas for you. You can click Use this grading standard and adopt it, or you can click Manage grading schemes and you can create your own if that's something that you want to do. We have also included no marks, incompletes, and missing for those grade notations. Just make sure you click Update Course after you make any changes. That way your changes are saved and you don't have to go do that again. Under sections, you should see all of your classes cross-listed if cross-listing is something that you did. If not, of course, we do have a how-to for that on the website. Under navigation, this actually impacts what scholars are able to see. So if you have something that you don't want scholars to have access to, you can just use that menu option there and disable it. There is one recommendation of disabling the files section, and that's just because scholars will literally see a group of files clustered together that you have otherwise embedded in various parts of your course, and it can get a little bit confusing. All right, under feature options, there are a couple of things you should enable. That is the new gradebook because it's more flexible, as well as listing students by sortable name in the gradebook. Everything else is completely optional for you. So if you check student view periodically, you'll see what your scholars are going to see. On the left here, you'll see that files are no longer optional for them, but also no other content is available, and that's because I haven't added any content into this course yet. You do have to make sure that you're checking on your course status as well. The published or unpublished is going to affect whether scholars can see your course. For those of you that are importing content from Haiku, you'll do it here. You'll make sure that you select Common Cartridge to access that file that you downloaded from Haiku. If you're not doing that, you're going to go ahead and start from the beginning and click Add Module. The easiest way to imagine a module is as a unit. So that's what I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to go ahead and make a course overview unit and then a unit 1, 2, 3, and 4 just to show you how they're sort of nested together and presented to your scholars. You will see as I'm adding them that you have the option of locking the units, and that's really useful if you're a very prepared teacher and you want to build your units and assignments ahead of time, but you don't want scholars to have access to those units until later in the year. You can lock the unit until a particular date, and if that date changes, you can change it at your discretion. So within each unit, you're able to embed content, whether it's an assignment, a competency, an extra page with information, your grading policy, your retake procedures, or anything else you need. Here I'm creating a welcome page, which I'm eventually going to set as my front page for my scholars to see upon clicking on my Canvas course in their dashboard. Each page that you create will come with a rich text editor you can see here. This is where you can change the font, embed buttons, images, hyperlinks, and anything else. If any of that stuff is confusing to you, you're welcome to contact me and I can help you through things yourself one-on-one. But basically, you can leave messages, you can add files, you can add discussion boards or anything else you want. Your module, which again, for me, I imagine that as a unit, can include a number of things. You can also keep it as simple as one page with everything listed and building upon itself. That's, again, entirely at your discretion how complex you want the organizational structure of your Canvas page. Just another reminder, make sure whenever you make changes, you do click Save Changes when that option is available. it does not automatically save drafts in some areas, and so if you move on or navigate somewhere else without saving changes, you can lose some of your work. You'll notice the green published button that just lets me know that scholars are able to see that work. Here in this menu option, I was able to select this page as my front page. And then if I navigate to view all pages, I can see everything that I've created. And again, those green check marks on the right to indicate the ones that are published. But none of that will be visible to scholars unless I publish the entire course. So I'm going to go ahead and show you an assignment. Remember that at Del Lago, we have a specific naming convention for competencies. Your formatives are lowercase, but your competencies should be in all caps, C-O-M-P for comp, shorthand for competency, of course, and then the number competency it is. So here I created comp 1 with a colon. Anything that comes after the colon is whatever you feel like titling your competency, and that's at your discretion. But we do ask that you put comp and the competency number in all caps at the start for ease of navigation for parents, scholars, other teachers that might be looking into your gradebook. All right, so here I'm going to add this competency into a competencies assignment group. Assignment groups, for those of you that used PowerSchool previously, are the same thing as gradebook categories. So we will end up with 3 assignment groups, that is formatives, competencies, and finals. You can change the submission type within any of these assignment groups. On this one, you'll see my competency 1, I'm assigning it as a file upload, where scholars can upload files from their iPad, OneDrive, or any other source. I can change the due date as well as the open date, which enables scholars to access those files before or after the official due date. Those things are at your discretion. Just make sure that your due dates are the intended due date, because the due dates are going to assign that grade to a particular grading period. And if that's confusing to you, again, just reach out and contact me and I will explain it in a little bit more detail. I have to talk really quickly through this video. All right, so speaking of assignments, I'm going to go ahead and go back to that assignment section so I can show you those 3 categories I talked about. By default, Canvas creates an assignments tab. You can either delete that, you can move it around, or you can just rename it to help it reflect our grading categories that we use. I'm going to go ahead and rename this formatives and save that. So now I have a competency section, a formative section, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a final section in order to align myself with the gradebook conventions of the entire staff. If you're interested in contributing to those grading conventions, we do have a grading committee led by Renee Farrell and Alex Talbot, and you're welcome to contact them if you want to be a part of that. I did mention in the help documents that I created that we have to disable the calculated Canvas subtotal and create a fake kind of subtotal category. I'm asking right now that you put that into an assignment in the finals section because it's weighted at 0%. Just call it current grade. Put the due date as the last date of the semester, give it 4 points total, and then as you update your scholars' class subtotals, before transferring them to Synergy, you can just update it in that column without having to worry about a calculated grade misinforming scholars of that calculation. Since again, at Del Lago, we determine grades, we don't calculate them, we don't want scholars chasing points, so this fake grade assignment is going to be helpful for that. There is a help page on my website that walks you through that a bit slower, so you can access that as well. All right, so this is what the Canvas gradebook looks like. As you'll see, using our DLA grading scheme that we've created, you can add rubric numbers as well as those lettered notations like incomplete, missing, or no mark. And although it does calculate a grade, you're hiding your gradebook subtotal, so that calculated grade should not be visible to your scholars. Again, there is a help document about hiding those subtotals on my webpage. It is bit.ly/Carissa Duran. Just go to the EdTech resources and you can click on all my Canvas resources from there. All right. So clicking Student View here, you'll see that even though I've added content, nothing is visible. And that's because you do, like I mentioned, have to publish the entire course. You'll see on the right-hand side that Publish or Unpublish option. Once you publish it and then click Student View, you're able to publish whatever content you want within it or the entire thing all at once, and scholars will at that point be able to access your course, as seen here. So in the people section, it's really great because if you have last minute changes to your class or rosters, you can switch scholars between sections. You can change the role if somebody becomes a TA. You can also set groups here. And I mentioned groups to a lot of you before. Groups are really great for group projects, but also for special groups within your cohorts. Just keep in mind that group names are visible to scholars. So if you want to have a group that's ongoing for the year for your SPED cohort or for your ELD students or for your honor students, just make sure that you come up with a creative name for it. Don't call it SPED or IEP by any means. Here I'm just using colors. So I have a purple group and I have a green group. Later I'll create an IDP group. That's interdisciplinary project for those of you who are unaware. And you just drag and drop kids into those groups when you want them to be intentional. When you want them to be random, there is an option for that I will show in just a moment. But I know there was a concern about something our trainer said about scholars not being in multiple groups at the same time. That is actually not true. As you'll see, I'm demonstrating here, I am creating a green group and a purple group, and I am adding the same exact scholars into each of those groups. That is entirely possible, which means if you want to have your SPED, ELD, Honors, Firebird, Phoenix groups that are ongoing throughout the year, you can also still add those same scholars to groups for temporary projects like the IDP or some other interdisciplinary team that you're creating. Again, if any of that is confusing to you, I know I'm going through it really quickly, just go ahead and contact me. I am in office A107 on the bottom floor of the admin building, and I can meet you there or come to your classroom whenever you need. All right, so here you're seeing the IDP groups that were made automatically by Canvas, and you'll see some of those same names that I added into my purple and green groups earlier. This just verifies for you that you can add scholars to multiple groups. If you choose to use groups for a special population in your class, that does not mean that you cannot use it for projects. You still can use it for both. And lastly, I want to look at the syllabus section here. While you have the option of disabling the syllabus section, the way we disabled the file section earlier for scholar view, it is a great place to have it because it's by default on every Canvas web page. You can build your syllabus right into the rich text editor, or using that Microsoft 365 or OneDrive button right there in the rich text editor ribbon, you can just upload an existing syllabus so that scholars are able to access it in the same place in all their courses. It is something I would recommend using. It's the syllabus section, but you absolutely do not have to. You can just link it directly to your homepage or wherever else you've decided it would be most useful.